That I will pass it over to Maggie Nowak from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to speak more about our info session today.
Thanks, Abby. And I'm also joined here with by Denise Courtney, my colleague at DESE, and we are just thrilled to be finally kicking this off and making this resource available to y'all. So I am not going to take too much time at the front, but I just want to say we're so excited to be able to make this investment in supporting schools in tracking the geographic origin of their food. A lot of this work really stemmed out of the lessons learned from the folks who participated in the Northeast Food for School program. And we've been really excited to transition that into a challenge and to work with y'all to continue those local procurement relationships, but also just to see the full breadth of where all of your food is coming from and try to get more transparency so that you have that information and can provide it to your stakeholders. So what I do want to say, and I think will be reiterated on this call, is that we are really building something for Massachusetts. And so, as happens when all things are in building mode, as you get access to the platform, as you start to log in and get using it yourself, you might not see all the functionality in the system that we ultimately hold in our vision and dreams. And it is in progress and it's being worked on. And you are really helping us build the foundation to make it possible. So we want to thank you for being early adopters, for being transparent with us as we go through this process. And with that, FoodTrails is going to take it away. Shayna is going to show us and tell us all about what that process is going to look like and what FoodTrails is.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Maggie. And thank you all for coming today. It's really nice to have the opportunity to introduce ourselves and introduce FoodTrails to you. We're thrilled to have you on board, as Maggie said, as our pilot cohort. So as she was describing, put on your hard hats, get ready to walk into the site and have a look around with that kind of design mindset. Please feel free to ask questions. Don't be shy about it. No question is too small. No question is dumb. That's what this is for us to orient you to the site and to the process of using the site and gathering up the data that will feed the site. So we'll all go through this together. Before we dive into the content, I'll introduce myself and let my team introduce themselves. I'm Shayna Cohen. I'm managing partner of a food systems consultancy called KK&P, and we are a partner with software developers in the FoodTrails platform, which we will introduce to you today. We're thrilled to be a part of that. Max, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Max. I work at KK&P as a senior analyst and food systems planner, and I'm part of the Food Trails development team. Neil.
How's it going? I'm Neil Clissis, part of the Food Trails development team, background in software design and data science. And I'm here for support. And also, if you have any technical questions, feel free to throw them in the question and answers.
Awesome. Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Max. So as you can see, our team combines software development expertise, data expertise, and kind of food systems and operation expertise that we work together to try to bring all those pieces together to create a platform that really makes it easier and more accurate and more automated to understand where your food comes from based on data that's available through your food supply chains and your relationships with your suppliers. Our agenda for today, if you want to flip to the next slide, thank you, Max, is we're first going to talk just very briefly about why FoodTrails exists, what it is, and how it benefits users. We'll give you a tour of the site, an overview kind of demo. We'll talk to you a bit about velocity reports, the reports and data sources that feed the site and from which all of the analysis is done. And we'll explain a little bit about how the site works on the back end with data pipelines so that you have a sense of how it reads the reports you submit so you can kind of understand what quality data looks like and how to get it. And then we'll talk about data quality and completeness in a bit more detail and about the process of requesting that from your suppliers, which will be one of the key things that you'll do after you get your FoodTrails account and user credentials launched after these info sessions. Next slide. Excellent. So what is FoodTrails? So FoodTrails is a secure web-based platform that was designed to help school districts and other public agencies track local and regional food purchases easily and accurately. What it actually does is track all food purchases easily and accurately and identify what we know and what we don't know about where food comes from. We've been retained by DESI, as Maggie described, to customize food trails to the needs of Massachusetts districts, and are working with DESI and Mass Farm to School on this process called iterative design, as Maggie said. It can be messy, it can be uncomfortable. However, the upside of a design process and being a pilot user in a design process like this is you can influence the shape of the platform. Every experience that you have, every insight that you have, every wish that you have can be communicated to us to help us understand how your procurement works, how your food service works, and how your experience of the site should or could be shaped to reflect that experience. Using FoodTrails will include our process of kind of designing and enhancing FoodTrails for Massachusetts will include developing automated data intake from your priority vendors and then building out functions that help you track compliance with Buy American regulations. So Max will talk a bit more about what this looks like, how you get the data, how it does that, as we go through that process. But essentially, for everyone who has ever tried to answer the question, where does my district's food come from? You know what that's like. You request the information. It either comes to you or does not come to you from your distributor. You may have to think about what your own district's definition of local is or definition of regional and compare that against what your state's definition of local or regional is. And think about that in the context of what your distributors or suppliers may think local or regional means. FoodTrails takes away all of those questions and operates in a kind of just the facts, ma'am, based approach to identifying where food comes from based on origin that is provided in reports through the supply chain and tries to improve the flow of data through the supply chain so that the information comes to you along with the food. So how does it benefit users to use FoodTrails? It will eliminate or deeply minimize the need to manually enter purchasing data, gives you access to your historic data at any time. FoodTrails gives you the power to generate reports on purchasing with the click of a button to get a bird's eye view of what's local, regional, domestic, non-domestic, or unknown, as many products may be given the current state of data through the supply chain, in order to advance your procurement goals and your compliance, and to access and contribute to an ever-growing database of proven local and regional suppliers and products, which you'll be looking for as part of the NFS challenge. With that, we'll dive in to the demo of FoodTrails. Max, I'll turn it over to you. Max, you're muted.
Shayna, you're quicker with the.
All right.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. All right, everybody, can you hear me now? Excellent. Sorry about that. All right, everybody. Hi, welcome to FoodTrails. We're going to start by signing in. So you will get login credentials at some point after these onboarding sessions. And from there, you'll be asked to set up an account. And when you log in and set up your account, you will see something like this. Welcome to FoodTrails, or what you're actually looking at here is a demonstration version of it. It's the development site. It's where Neil and Jesse build tools and test them before we deploy them out to the production site, which is what you'll log into. When you log in, you'll see a dashboard, and I'm going to give you your first heads up here that when you first log into FoodTrails, you will see a blank dashboard exactly like this, and that is for the reason that this dashboard shows you your own data, and when you first log in, you will have not uploaded any data yet, right? So the question becomes, how do you upload data, right? So data is taken into the system through velocity reports. We've set it up so you can drag and drop files right there, or you can browse through them on your computer. For vendors for whom we have customized data pipelines, FoodTrails will be able to read these reports automatically. When you put them in, you can hit submit. And we'll talk about this more later. If your vendors are not on this automated vendor list, you'll be prompted to download a template, which is going to be a blank velocity report where whatever report they send you, you should be able to copy and paste whole columns of data in and FoodTrails will be able to read that sample velocity report in order to bring information into the system. I can see that it's processed, and so I'll go back to the dashboard where we have data, right? And so this will show you food spend by locality and food spend over time. We're in the process of customizing these categories to reflect DESI's definitions of local in terms of levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You'll be able to search for individual facilities if you supervise multiple facilities, and you'll be able to sort based on a date range in this dashboard. This is the first time I'm going to say it over and again, repeating what Shayna said. If there is a type of analysis you'd like to see on the dashboard, ask for it. And so the first thing we'll show you, right, is this submit feedback page, right, where you can tell us if something's wrong in the form of a bug report. You can request a new feature, right? Maybe you don't like this color, Jesse likes to say. Maybe you want to see have the ability on the dashboard to search between processed and unprocessed ingredients, or if you want to contact us, you can do it there. In addition to Shayna, myself, and Neil, there is a team member, Jesse. We're real people. You can reach out to us, and we will try to respond to you as soon as we can. So going back to the dashboard, right? In addition to having your basic dashboard, as Shayna said, you'll have the ability to download reports of sanitized data. FoodTrails takes in the data from the velocity report, cleans it and standardizes it, and allows you to instantly, once processed, download that cleaned data if there are custom analyses you'd like to do. Same as with the dashboard, you can filter by date range. There are several different kinds of summary reports you can download, or this top line report, which is going to be every line item in the date window you specify. You'll be able to see which documents you've uploaded previously. Maybe you're not sure if you uploaded documents last month or not, right? But this is where you can see all of your past uploads. And you'll be able to see your purchase history, right? So this is going to reflect what products you specifically have purchased within your district, right? You'll be able to search the database here. You'll be able to search based on tags, which are going to be attributes that we'll be working with DESI and Mass Farm to School to be able to assign. Maybe you're interested in organic products. Maybe you're interested in products that come from minority and women-owned businesses. Maybe you're interested in a specific definition of local particular to your SFA. We should be able to, we're going to be able to give you the ability to code those different things here by product or by supplier. This products history page, which is your specific purchases, is going to be distinguished from this products page, right? Which is actually going to reflect back to you the full universe of items contributed by all FoodTrails users, including in Massachusetts and other states. So this is where you would not necessarily go to look at your own history of purchasing, but where you can go and search for new suppliers that might be supplying local and regional products suitable for your menus. So with that, I'm going to pause here and see if anybody has any questions. Or Shayna, Neil, did I miss anything in that quick run through?
One thing I would love for you to highlight, Max, is to show how these columns can be sorted on the product page so that you can identify products of interest and how it can be searched, how you can ask questions of this products page and find answers.
Awesome, will do. So these tables are all sortable, right? You can sort by category, you can sort by producer, you can sort by state of origin, right? You can see that like this is again a construction site, right? If state of origin is coming up as a number, that means that FoodTrails is reading something incorrectly. This would be where you can file a bug report and let us know that something doesn't seem to be presenting in the way you'd expect it to. But if you were to search by product name, it's going to be organizing things according to line item. Category is going to be organizing things according to USDA food category. Or if you wanted to search up here for, let's see, wheat, we apparently don't have anything in the system right now that reflects that. But again, this is just the demonstration data. I actually should have mentioned that or made that more explicitly clear earlier. This data that we're showing you right now is dummy data. In the interest of data privacy, we're not using any velocity reports we've gotten from actual users here, right? So this is a model data set that is knowledgeably incomplete in the moment. Shem, is
Products
there
page
anything else?
continues. Well, this
Yeah.
products page continues just building on what Max said about privacy. Um, any data that relates to a particular purchase, a particular order, or a particular buyer is not included here. You'll see on the products page that there's no information about price. We know that price is critically important to you, but we also know that it's not data that suppliers want shared or that you want shared about your individual purchases and what they cost in that time. So you'll see that this products page is more neutralized compared to the purchase history page, as Max was showing before, which is again your data aggregated across as many velocity reports from as many suppliers as you upload over whatever period of time you're uploading. So if there are 1,000 velocity reports that you've uploaded multiple years from now in the system, your purchase history page and the generate report page aggregate all of that in more or less an instant and clean it up, and it can provide analysis to you in a big spreadsheet that you can download or in your dashboard to have it at your fingertips in a quick view.
Thank you. Help me out. Are there any questions from the chat that we should address while we're actually looking at the site?
There was one question that was just asking about the receiving a copy of the slides and a recording of the webinar. And as I articulated in the Q&A function, but in case folks haven't toggled over there, yes, both the slides and one of the information session recordings will be made public to those of you who are in our pilot program on the Northeast Food for Schools pilot page, which we will be sure to send out to everyone. You can click on that link in the Q&A function. But that was the only question that we've had so far, Max. But one other element that I would like to underscore is that for those of you, especially who participated in the Northeast Food for Schools program when there was federal grant funding provided, that process of, transcribing your purchase history into the software that Mass Farm to School previously was working with was incredibly cumbersome. And we were really delighted to see the sophistication that FoodTrails is able to provide with reading the velocity reports and then sharing back with you your data. Because if anything, some of the historical records or synthesized information was a common request that we were not able to provide at that point in time. So really delighted for this partnership that Desi started with having FoodTrails customize some work for Massachusetts. So I'll stop there.
Thank you for that, Abby. I'll add that in, different project work I've done with KKMP and elsewhere, I have been the person typing in hundreds and sometimes thousands of lines of data. I'm very familiar with how unpleasant that is, and one of the things we are really going to be working on is to spare you from as much of that as we can, which I think is a good segue into the rest of this deck. All right, so everybody can see what I'm seeing? Great. So the system runs using velocity reports, right? And so we thought we should just explain this to everybody in case it's a term that's not familiar. So what are velocity reports? So velocity reports, sometimes called usage or purchasing reports, are system-generated reports supplied by your vendors that contain item-level information. Most vendors, many vendors, should be able to generate these reports in some format automatically from their sales management systems, right? And FoodTrails deploys several methods to use the data from these reports in order to alleviate and even automate the burden of manual data entry for users. So how does the site work, and what are data pipelines? So data pipelines are custom written blocks of software code that Jesse and Neil are working on that enable FoodTrails to automatically read velocity reports provided by vendors in their native format without manual editing, right? So this is a scenario where you are going to be requesting velocity reports from your vendors. And for at this point, small and significant but growing portion of vendors, we're going to be writing these blocks of code to read the reports directly as they come, requiring hopefully no manipulation from you. These pipelines are the primary way FoodTrails reduces or eliminates manual data entry for vendors with dedicated pipelines. For the data pipelines to work, it's really important that the data provided by vendors is in a consistent format month after month. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And as FoodTrails grows, we will build data pipelines for more vendors to allow for even greater automation. Any questions that we should address before moving on?
One thing I just wanted to add is just to put a little illustrative point on what it means to have no manual manipulation of the spreadsheet. What this means is that if you request a velocity report and it's sent to you as an Excel document or a comma separated values spreadsheet, you can literally drag it from the email as an attachment straight into the upload page in FoodTrails without downloading it to your computer, without changing the title, without changing any rows or columns. You should, of course, look at it and make sure it's your own data if you want to, but you don't have to. And you can drag it and put it straight into the uploads page that way. That's the power of the data pipeline, is to allow FoodTrails to read these reports in the format they're provided. One of the participants did ask, what do we do when our vendor doesn't have the ability to provide us with velocity reports? And I know you'll be building towards that point, Max, but I wanted to just put the question out there so that when the time is right, you get to that.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, we'll be talking about some of the resources we have for data entry in a little bit. That is, for that scenario, is one of the instances where there is going to be some manual data entry using the template we'll provide you. So, current vendor pipelines. So, as of right now, FoodTrails has the ability, or we are developing actively developing the ability to read velocity reports from Thurston Foods, who we know is a dominant vendor in Massachusetts. Ace Endico, we know is another very prominent broadliner. Marty's Local, who we know is a common source of local produce, as well as FreshPoint and Produce Connection, who we know are common produce vendors. We also, from previous work, have pipelines available for Cisco, Gordon Food Service, Rock's Produce, and Farm Fresh Rhode Island. And then again, last there is the FoodTrails data reporting template, which we have available for you to use to consolidate data from multiple vendors who might not be able to produce a report or whose reports come in a format that FoodTrails isn't able to read yet. And again, you'll be getting this deck. You can screenshot this now. The information is available on the website. No need to remember this. We've built in the redundancies to remind you of this list.
And forgive me, Max, for jumping in, but Mass Farm to School, in partnership with our Food Hub partners. So Marty's Local is one of the vendors that was on the previous page, as is Farm Fresh Rhode Island. For those of you who use the Boston Food Hub or maybe Coastal Food Shed or some of the other food hubs around the region, we've already shared with them the FoodTrails data reporting template so that they are aware of the type of information that they will receive requests for. So some of those conversations have already begun in the event that you use other local food sources that might not be represented on here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Abby. Which brings us to what kinds of information we are requesting, right? And this is a lengthy list, and I'll explain to you why it is this list of things we're asking for. So in terms of data quality and completeness, the desired data fields include the vendor name, right, which should show up easily enough. Purchase dates or date range. We want to know when you purchased an item. That includes the invoice date, the invoice number. The invoice number will help us keep track of whether or not purchases are being entered in duplicate, right, accidentally, which would artificially inflate certain spend numbers in places that we want to be able to keep an eye out for. We want to know the receiving facility, right, basically your name, your SFA's name. We want to know the item name and description. These next couple fields are where the rubber really hits the road in terms of local tracking, right? So we do want to ask vendors for supplier names, right? So that is the source farmer, the manufacturer, processor, or the brand. We want to know the production location. So really production state is the most important piece of information here, but we would love to know the address and zip code as well. From there, in order to actually know how much you buy, we need to know about the pack size, price per unit, units received, and then we're asking for any kind of item codes that might come along attached to that item. And critically, we know as part of the Buy American compliance for federal regulations is we're asking vendors to indicate if an item was domestically produced or not. I see some questions coming in. Is there anything specific to this?
So one of the questions you were already handling as far as if folks are unable to provide the velocity report we're touching on, there's another question as far as sharing the template with the GRO 42 produce vendors and milk vendors. And yes, we plan on sharing this information as well as some other information with with those vendors, and I am aware that the Dairy Council is also working to help with dairy distributors to help provide the level of transparency that's being requested. So there are a couple of different partners
Yeah.
working on helping provide this information as we continue to roll out. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And that actually brings to like a couple other points, which we'll cover as well again in a minute. But we've again produced a template that features each of these bullets as, a column name in the spreadsheet in the template velocity report. These are meant to serve as an example to folks of the kinds of information we want, right? If they have a consistent format their system already produces that they can do all the time and it contains this stuff, right? That makes them an ideal candidate for pipeline development. Or we might ask them to adapt their practices to fit this format, right? And that will be a vendor engagement process that we'll be working on with Mass Farm to School. So there's a couple questions here that you're already hinting at about data quality and completeness, right? So the first thing, and Shayna hit on it at the beginning, is for the site to work correctly and really offer you the best analysis possible, reports should include all purchases, not just local purchases, with supplier and production location information included, specifically production state. So again, all purchases, right? Like that's the denominator. We want the site to know how much money in total you're spending on food. And that allows us to show accurately what percentage of the food you're purchasing is local or regional, right? So all purchases, which should actually make things much simpler for your suppliers. We don't want just the local products report. We want the whole thing and for them to indicate which products are local by giving us the state of origin. We need consistent formatting, right? So reports should be exported from vendor systems in spreadsheet format. We cannot accept PDFs. And we want them to do it in whatever way is most consistent and replicable for them at this time, right? If they have the option to produce reports using just an export all fields function, we'll take those as they are. FoodTrails can't invent information not provided to it, but it can ignore information that we don't need right now. But still, that should be one of those things that helps make this easier for your vendors of just, they don't need to choose which columns we need, just send us all of them if they can do it. Missing fields. So we understand that field and column names may vary and that information for some fields may not always be available. Again, at this time, we really want vendors to send us what they have, even if some information is missing. We have a data reporting template, right? So the accompanying template, which we're going to send to you and which is available on the site, is for vendors to adopt if they're open to it, or to serve as an example of the type of reporting we want to receive. It's not mandatory for vendors to use. It can also be used by you to manually enter in purchases as needed. We know some of you might be working with farmers or fishers who are dropping just a handful of items off consistently each week during the growing or harvesting season. We know that asking those farmers to fill out a spreadsheet is probably not going to fly, which is part of where it's available for you to enter those things in. And that's one of those instances where you may do some manual data entry, but in a way that hopefully is streamlined and relatively painless for you. Lastly, we're going to be doing this on a monthly cadence right now, right? So we're going to be requesting reports monthly and asking you to upload them to FoodTrails monthly. Any questions here before we move on?
There are no questions that have been put in the questions section yet. I did just want to add one point to what Max was describing about including all the purchases. It is the denominator, and it is also a way of removing human error from the reporting process, because it doesn't ask that anyone think about the definition of local, the definition of regional, what an acceptable product is, or anything else. It simply asked, what did we purchase, and what is the best and most information that you can provide to us about what we purchased and where it comes from. So that's something I want to emphasize. Max is going to get into the process of reaching out to suppliers to request this information and resources that we have created to make that easy for you. But I can anticipate from our past experience that many suppliers will say, oh, well, we just did a local food report or a regional food report or a Buy American report for this client. It's based on our definition of local, which is 250-mile radius from our warehouse. And while that might be a great service to some, It's not what the state of Massachusetts is interested in, and it's not the data that you're interested in for FoodTrails. The more complete, less custom, more consistent report with all the purchases is really going to be the thing that serves you best for FoodTrails.
And if
Excellent.
I
Thank you.
can quickly piggyback off
Yeah.
of that, Shayna, thank you so much. This language should also ring a bell for folks who are very excited to join the Northeast Food for School Challenge, but maybe also have an interest in leveraging this platform for compliance with the Buy American provision for the new food cost cap tracking requirement, which does require us to think of all of your food, all of your commercial food purchases. And so this aligns similarly with that goal. While we are excited about the mechanisms that the platform allows to really think more critically about local, it's also going to be looking into this distinction eventually of domestic and non-domestic, which will require you to be inputting all of your purchases. And again, I know a couple times it's been mentioned this idea of like a state definition for local, and I just want to clarify that there is no legislative state definition for local, but for the Northeast Food for Schools Challenge, we did lean into the definition of local that many of us had all become accustomed to with the Northeast Food for Schools initiative that was federally funded the past couple of years, and folks were used to getting reimbursed from, which unfortunately is no longer funded. But those same definitions for local and regional are being leveraged. But if you have more questions about what are we talking about when we say local, that language is posted on the NFS Challenge website. And Abby, if you don't mind dropping that link again for folks for that specific page, just if folks are interested on what we're talking about specifically, that would be great. What I think maybe has already been mentioned or will be mentioned is that the platform will allow for flexibility if we ever find there is future when Massachusetts legislates a definition for local or if parameters change around what that looks like. Because you have all of your comprehensive data in the system, we will be able to work with FoodTrails to pivot that tagging and that system within the platform so that you can realign with a change in definition if there is one. Okay, great.
All right. Thank you, Maggie.
There's one question in
Yep.
the Q&A, which is if we accidentally uploaded the same invoice, I assume it was Met Velocity report more than once, will it recognize that it's a duplicate? Neil, do you want to field this one?
Sure. Currently, in our upload form, you actually cannot upload the same velocity report twice. So this is another case of keeping the velocity reports exactly as you get them. Generally, I mean, you can change the name or other metadata, but if it recognizes that it's the same velocity report that it's already seen and already processed, it will not allow you to upload the same velocity report again. There are still some cases where purchases that may be represented on two velocity reports may get counted twice. We are working on that to kind of identify which purchases are duplicates, or maybe at least representing those to you to identify yourself that confirm, yes, this is two different purchases or this is one. But right now, the system does not let you upload the same velocity report twice, even if you change a name or even if it comes from somebody else trying to upload the same velocity report. It only accepts it one time.
Thank you, Neil.
Awesome. Ready to move on?
Yes,
All
the
right.
asker of that question emphasized, yes, that it will be important to ask the vendors for the velocity report within that monthly time frame. Yes, that's exactly right. That does eliminate the possibility of your January purchases being reflected on a quarterly report and on a monthly report. We are going to talk about catching you up to from the beginning of the school year to request an initial data request that covers the beginning of the school year, or August 1st is the date we're choosing for that, until December 31st. And then after that time frame, it will be monthly from there on out, exactly as you supposed, to eliminate the possibility that a month's data will be included on multiple different reports.
Awesome. Thank you. So lastly, I wanted to just cover in terms of new material right now, right? Some velocity report request resources we have created for you. Right, so the first thing is the data reporting template. It's available on the website. If folks want to take a quick look at it now, we can do so, but it is a spreadsheet downloadable from FoodTrails. It has the column names we indicated in it and not much else. It again can be used either for copy and paste data entry by you or one of your vendors, or as a format for vendors to adopt if they are willing. And I do know, as Abby mentioned, right, like there is some work going on, for instance, with dairy vendors, right, in order to see if they are willing to adopt the FoodTrails format as a way of streamlining that process. We also created an email for you, like literally wrote the email we want you to send to your vendors, right? It's a stock email for SFAs to send to vendors detailing our data requests and data requirements. And it is like, this is literally a screenshot of it here. It includes a list of field names. It includes all the sort of caveats and considerations that I just pointed out to you on the previous slide. It is going to be available for download on the FoodTrails website along with the template so that you can download both. Again, put in the correct names and send it off to your vendors. There's no need for you to reinvent the wheel on repeat. So just know that we've created those things. If there are other resources that you feel would be helpful in terms of making these requests to vendors or questions you're consistently getting, you can contact us about those things, or either through the website or through our emails. Any questions here?
One thing I do want to mention is that many of the vendors that you'll be reaching out to may have already received a request from another FoodTrails user. So they may be familiar with this request. For others, it will be new. Part of kind of the theory of change of how FoodTrails works, not just to aggregate and analyze your data in an automated way, but also to over time improve the data that you have access to, is that by en masse asking for better and more data on a regular basis, you as customers are placing that pressure on your vendors to provide the data that you want. Over time and with multiple requests from multiple FoodTrails users, if you have pushback from vendors, if you don't get responsiveness from vendors, if they are not able to provide something that you want, that may shift over time as more and more people are asking for this data in a particular way more often.
Thank you.
And then I'll just add here, if this is a good moment, that DESE will also be issuing a letter that provides just a confirmation that you are participating in the pilot program with FoodTrails in the Northeast Food for School Challenge. And it outlines DESE's goals for working with FoodTrails to create more transparency around your purchasing. And it also will detail the information that's been reviewed here of your expectations as a participant. And we hope that this is documentation that you can leverage when that feels appropriate or needed with stakeholders or with supply chain vendors and food distributors, just so they, understand further the context for this pilot and the work that you're doing. So you can expect that letter to be sent via the DESE security portal as well as via email over the next week or so as well.
To confirm completion of this webinar and to receive your SFA's login credentials to the FoodTrails platform, please complete the following 2-question survey using the link or QR code displayed on the screen.